I just moved into a new apartment. After the divorce, I wanted a fresh start, a place I could call my own, in a quiet neighborhood far from everything familiar. It was supposed to be simple: work, gym, sleep, repeat. Nothing complicated, nothing weird. The first week was perfect. I unpacked, arranged the furniture just the way I liked it, and even started meeting a few neighbors. Everything felt normal. Then it started. At first, it was small things. My keys weren't on the counter where I left them. The mail I swore I had just sorted appeared in a different pile. At first, I chalked it up to forgetfulness. Stress. Moving is exhausting, I told myself. But then there were the scratches on the doorframe. Tiny, shallow lines that I couldn't explain. I don't have pets. I live alone. And nobody else has a key. I mentioned it to one of my neighbors, an older man who lives across the hall. He shrugged. Maybe it's the wind. The wind doesn't leave little parallel scratches. A few days later, I noticed a man following me. At first, I thought it was coincidence. I was on my way to the grocery store, and he was walking a block behind me. Later, I saw him at the coffee shop, sitting at a table across the street, looking like he was reading something, but every time I glanced, he was gone. It became unnerving. Every time I left my apartment, every time I walked home from work, I had the feeling someone was trailing me. And it wasn't just once or twice, it became consistent. One evening, I got home and found a note slipped under my door. It had no return address, no handwriting I recognized, just a few words. "You're being watched?" I froze. My heart pounded. I double-checked the locks. Windows were shut. Nothing seemed out of place. I tried convincing myself it was a prank. Maybe someone in the building thought it was funny. But the timing, the exact wording, it felt deliberate. That night, I started noticing other things. Items moved slightly. A book shifted an inch. My laptop wasn't exactly where I left it. I began to keep a mental list of my belongings, checking every night. The feeling of being watched grew heavier, almost suffocating. A week later, I came home from work and found someone standing across the street, just staring at my building. The street was empty except for him. I tried not to look, but he caught my gaze. That face, calm, neutral, unreadable. I didn't recognize him, but I knew it wasn't the first time I had seen him. I started taking photos and recording video with my phone, hoping for evidence. But every time I reviewed them, he either wasn't there or he was just a shadow in the distance. Nothing concrete. Then it escalated. I came home one evening and found a piece of paper on my kitchen counter. I didn't bring it with me. It was written in pencil, small neat letters, and it detailed things about me. Things only a few people in my life would know. My morning routine, the way I brewed coffee, even details about conversations I had at work. Panic set in. This was no longer just someone following me. This was someone inside my life. Someone who knew me intimately. I started changing my routines, taking different routes, leaving at different times, even sleeping at different hours. But it didn't help. The man was still there, sometimes across the street, sometimes watching from the park. And occasionally I'd catch glimpses of him in reflections, in the elevator, in store windows, always just a few steps behind. One night, I stayed up trying to catch him in the act. I waited in my apartment, lights dimmed, cameras recording. Hours passed. Around 2 a.m., I saw a shadow cross the living room. I froze. The cameras confirmed it, movement in the frame. But when I turned on the lights, the apartment was empty. I called the police. They came, took reports, promised to patrol the area. Nothing happened for weeks. And then, out of nowhere, a package arrived. No return address. Inside was a notebook, filled with detailed notes about my life, things I hadn't told anyone. It ended with a single line: "I know everything about you." I moved apartments after that, tried to disappear. I changed jobs, numbers, social media accounts. But even now, years later, sometimes I feel like I'm being watched. A car slowly following me. A stranger at a distance, staring. A shadow just out of sight. I've told a few friends, but most think I'm exaggerating. Maybe I am, but the feeling doesn't lie. Someone knows me. Someone knows where I live, and I don't know how or why. All I know is I can never let my guard down. Never. And I never pick up phones or notes left behind. Because sometimes reality isn't what it seems and curiosity can be dangerous.